Hey guys, and welcome back. This time we're going to be doing the Bandit camp, but we're going to be making a few detours on our way. The first thing you need to do in order to progress the story is to kill Tranzig, but I don't believe he can even kill us with all his spells, just because we've got so many hit points by this stage, so he's not really a challenge by himself as a mage, so.
I hope this is worth it. Yeah, I'll see to it.
Seems to me like these men want a little trouble. I'll give them trouble. Seems to me like these men want a little trouble. Tranzig's not afraid of trouble such as you.
I hope this is worth it.
You want whiskey?
I decided to pick up some spells, and I am going to get more at Thalantir's and basically purchase all his spell scrolls just to have them. But there was a few things that I was carrying around, like the amulet that I picked up in one of the areas going down to Nashkel. And that gives you a reputation point and 250 experience, which, if you need the reputation, that is worth picking up. And the other thing that you can get is you can get another Ring of Protection +1. Tranzig did drop another one of these as well, from handing in the letter that you get from the Agrillans you just kill south of here.
Salutations.
Yeah, I'll see to it. I hope this is worth it. It's done.
Why do I live in such a pissant town?
We're going to do a bit of shopping, so this is going to take a while. But just to give an overview of the sort of stuff I'm picking up, I pick up some acid arrows because they're actually really good damage if you can use a bow. And I also pick up quite a few potions just to have them. Potions are really strong in this game, so it is worth having them. I also pick up a protection from magic scroll that we are going to use pretty soon. It is also very powerful in both games.
Why do I live
But what I spend most of my money on here is to buy all the scrolls for spells that I don't have and just learn them. So this is kind of unnecessary just because many of these spells I'm never going to cast, probably. But I do feel as though I should just get them anyway. So to go over some spells that we can't get, for example, Skull Trap is a really good spell, an AoE spell that is a necromancy spell that unfortunately we cannot learn. And the reason people like Skull Trap a lot is, one, it lasts an infinite amount of time and you can place them. The radius on it is a bit suspect, it's not as big as Fireball or anything like that. So it is kind of annoying to detonate. But the other part of it is the damage scaling on it is actually a lot higher. So unfortunately we won't have access to Skull Trap. I also pick up a robe of the Good Archmage. So I'm not sure how much I'm actually going to use that, and it is quite a bit of a money investment. But one of the things I do try to do is I try to rest multiple times here, and I just don't have much luck with it really. I keep getting interrupted. But one of the things that we do get is I do rest twice here, and I do get both of the Bale Spawn powers Cure White Wounds, which are nice to have. So yeah, the robes of the Archmage are actually pretty decent because they do give you an AC of 5, but like I mentioned earlier, it's probably better just to stick in my plate mail and just use wands for the majority of Baldur's Gate 1, or at least in my opinion. If you're wondering where I'm going, I'm actually heading over to Durwag's Tower in order to get the Wisdom Tome. I'm not actually going to do any of Durwag's Tower. I think it's pretty much going to be a waste of time for me, especially when you are not a thief at all. But I am going to get the Wisdom Tome because it is on the upper levels here. And the reason I'm killing this group in the middle here is one of the enemies has the Golden Girdle, which will give you an AC bonus to slashing attacks, and it is also a belt. So that is worth picking up, I would say, if you are going through this area. The one thing that you do need to watch out in this area is for basilisks, because they will petrify you. So if you do not have protection from petrification, or Korax is the other NPC you can get in this area that will help you out quite a bit, then you might instantly die if you're solo. But if you take the route that I just showed here, you shouldn't run into any if you just go straight east. And then I choose to go back that way and then head south to Durwag's Tower.
I hope this is worth it. You said something?
Some of the toughest enemies I find in the game are these battle horrors, especially at this point. So this is primarily what I use the Frost Wand for. I actually get lucky with the hits there. But these guys, there's two of them, and they both have 4,000 experience, so it does give you a nice boost in experience. The next proficiency I picked up was in flails, and the reason for that is almost entirely Baldur's Gate 2 if I import this character over, because there's a particular flail that people will know about that's considered probably one of the best weapons in the game in general. So it is almost entirely for that. There is a +2 flail that you can get at the later stages of this game, but it's not really any better than the longsword I already have, really.
I'll see to it. It's done. It's done. You need something, stranger?
The reason that I memorize minor spell deflection here is there is a trap here that will be made ineffective. So I figured I may as well save a reload if I do fail my save and just cast it here. So minor spell deflection is a lot interesting because it does give you basically 4 spell levels of protection, but it can save up to level 7 spells, as I recall. Otherwise, though, I don't know how useful it really is in terms of combat spell protections, but it is nice using for a bit of, I guess, cheesy trap protection if you need it. So that's the reason I'm using that here. Something worth noting is, I didn't do it here, but you can go up into the roof of Durwag's Tower and there is a lesser basilisk and then 3 greater basilisks that will give you about 22,000 experience when you kill them all. I figured I already have enough experience by this point anyway, but you can also get a +2 scimitar up there as well, so just to note that. I did buy the protection from petrification scroll, but I end up not using it.
It's done.
Glitter gold guide your eye on your travels.
Yeah, I'll see to it. It's done.
Something worth noting is the fact that you can get 3 wisdom tomes in this game as opposed to every other stat which only has 1. So that was the first one that we got there from Durwag's Tower.
Keep your heads about you and we'll work it out. We just need a little help is all.
The Ankegs in this cave are actually pretty difficult enemies if you come here immediately, but they give 1,000, basically 1,000 experience every kill. So they can actually be pretty good to level up early if you want. But their ranged attack is a lot more dangerous than their melee attack if you do get close. So,
Let's do this.
or at least that's what I've noticed at least. But by this point they're really not much of a concern. And the reason we're coming in here as we move north is there is a wand of fire that you can pick up here. And like I mentioned, wands in this game are pretty overpowered. And the wand of fire is probably one of my favorites because you do get a decent amount of usage on it as well.
It's done.
The few other quests that I took here are just for a bit of experience. The first is to drag the body out of the cave to give to this farmer here for some experience. And the other is to do the quest involving the fisherman. So we are going to have to come back to this area, but I pretty much started off here. I also decided to hit the Bandit camp area by going east from this map, because we are going to go towards it later.
It's done. I'll see to it.
Stop! You are trespassing on my land home! Underprize my way.
I'll see to it.
So the second detour that I'm going to take is over to Olgoth's Beard. The reason for that is we can pick up a few items, and I'm going to do the Ice Island quest. And I'll get to the reason why I'm doing that here. But first of all, we're going to buy some items from the innkeeper here. He has some useful scrolls. For example, he does have a scroll of improved invisibility, which I think is the only one that you can get in the game without random drops. But he also has the Greenstone Amulet, which will protect you against a lot of status effects. It is really useful. And he also has the Cloak of Deflection. We are going to get a better cloak eventually when we get to Baldur's Gate, the city. But I feel as though it is worth the investment right now because it's only about 2,300 gold. And it gives you quite a nice boost to both missile AC and also just general saving bonuses there, as you can see.
I'll see to it. I'll see to it.
So, the Ice Island quest. One thing you'll notice is I actually kept the belt that you can get in Ryan's death scene, and it will make you immune to ice attacks, which is pretty good against winter wolves because they only deal ice damage. So if you want to just become completely immune to these enemies, then you can do that. They're not very difficult anyway, but yeah. The reason I picked up that protection from magic scroll though is I'm actually going to use it here, because pretty much every enemy in this cave is a mage of some kind. So that is pretty much going to eliminate a lot of the challenge in this this area, because it can be kind of annoying. Especially this first fight here against these three mages. But as you can see, while you're under the effects, you will be completely immune to all types of magic, including dispel magic. So it makes most of the fights in here just a cakewalk, basically. The reason that we're doing this is the enemy at the end will give you a stone skin scroll, and I think it is also the only one that you can get in the game without a random drop. And stone skin is probably one of the best spells in the game for a fighter mage, so we're not going to pass that up. You can buy it early in Baldur's Gate 2, but I figured it would be useful to have and would save us some money, because we definitely want that spell.
Yeah.
The other difficult fight in this area is the one against Garen here, mainly not because of him, but because he has 4 ankegs that he has around this area that can really hurt. So that's the reason I used the Wand of Monster Summoning to get a few enemies in the way, but as you can see they don't last very long. And you'll notice I start taking some damage here. But after this, there's pretty much no enemy that can hurt you in this cave, apart from maybe some of the other winter wolves, because all of the traps will also be negated by the scroll. And I'm doing this in order to get any other scrolls that I can from the mages in this area. So there we go. One stone skin scroll that we get early. Even though I can't cast level 4 spells till I'm a level 7 mage. But I may as well get it early, I think. Plus it gave some decent experience going through there. And now we're going to head to the bandit camp, because I did hit the area earlier. The bandit camp is fairly straightforward for us, because we can pretty much just go forward and only get hit by the archers on a roll of 20 in their part.
I'll see to it.
But there is one specific enemy that can cause you some trouble, and that is the guy in the full plate mail. I would advise using the paralyzed wand on him, and that's what I do. I think he saves on the first attempt.
Let's do this quick and painful.
You'll notice that the full plate mail, it has the same armor class as the Ankeg plate, but it does better against slashing and piercing and missile. So 3 damage types there that it is strictly better than. So we equip that right away, and it is extremely useful. And we go to deal with the 10th fight. Now, the mage is probably the biggest concern, and you'll see me use the Wand of Fire here. It does actually have a secondary use that will use Agonazer's Scorcher instead, which will deal damage twice. So it ends up doing more damage than the Fireball that you also get as part of the Wand of Fire. Do note that the uses are separate, so you get 12 uses of the Fireball and 12 users of the Scorcher, but as soon as you use up one of them, I believe that the wand is just discarded. So it is worth using both.
It's done.
Sorry, friend, but you've got a date down under.
Spare no one! Yeah.
One of the things we're going to do before opening the chest in here is drink the Potion of Absorption, one of them that we picked up, because it does have a lightning trap on it. It probably wouldn't have killed me, so I really don't need to care about it, but I do have those potions anyway, so don't want to risk it like bouncing off the wall and hitting me 3 or 4 times, so I just decided to do that. So we picked up a couple upgrades here, and one of them is the gauntlets that will give you +2 damage and +1 Thaco. So those are obviously useful because I'm not using anything else. We also picked up the Deadshot, which is a longbow that has +3 Thaco and +2 damage on it. So it is obviously an upgrade to what we were using before. And that's pretty much it for this episode. We're going to go back to Friendly Armin, regenerate hit points, and identify the items that we got, and otherwise I'm just going to let this play out.
Ho there, wanderer. Stay thy course a moment to indulge an old man.
Glitter cult guide your eye on your travels.
It's done. Yeah, I'll see to it.
My inn is open to all who behave themselves.